We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Thanks to Christy for yesterday's time she spent with us. Today, we've got Will back in. Will's a favorite. Will gets a little fired up about stuff, and that's good. That's what this country needs. We need to be more fired up. And Will and I were just talking before we came on, and I think there's a lot of things that have gotten us triggered over the last few days, but we were talking about this little photo op press conference that Donald Trump had in the White House with Elon Musk and his kid, I presume.
Yeah, I
And it was
saw
a
him
little
picking his
disconcerting.
nose. He was
What's that?
picking his nose. The child was picking his nose. There's
Well,
film of it. God,
he looked like the brightest one in the room. So, you know,
yeah. And it's just Trump is sitting there, and we know what's going on. I mean, Elon's his money man. I
yeah,
mean, he is funneling money to him. And Musk looks like some weird ass tech bro from the 1970s with his blazer and his t-shirt. I
yeah.
know he's wearing sneakers.
Of
Um,
course, he's wearing sneakers. You know, the
and,
thing about
and
it is that he people always get on me. I say he's socially awkward. He's weird. Well, he's got autism. That isn't autism. That's fucking ketamine.
yeah, he's just look. He's a fucking Bond villain. Let's be honest. Every Bond villain is Elon Musk. Okay, and the only difference here is that the Bond villain is winning right now.
Yeah.
That's the problem, and he has hold of everything. And I was reading. If you want to get scared to death, read the Midas Touch newsletter. It comes from Substack, and I'm going to read you something that just scared the piss out of me just a
Okay.
minute ago. As I find it, um, and that's the kid picking his nose. There's a picture of him picking his nose. If you want to see it, guys. Oh yeah, here we go. Huffington Post reports that a federal employee who works on intelligence matters told him that Musk's Dodge team was at the Defense Intelligence Agency over the weekend. After
Wow.
that visit, DIA leaders were asked to send a full list of personnel in the agencies to OPM who may have been DEI hires. That list of personnel included intel officials who work undercover or embedded in foreign countries. Okay,
Wow.
I mean, that's insane. That's fucking insane. They have no idea what they're doing. As I said in a video earlier today in one of my posts, anything that's a federal agencies, they want to close because they think it's evil. You're fucking with the Defense Intelligence Agency. The DIA's one job is to watch everyone else's military and intelligence agency in cahoots with the CIA. The CIA takes care of their civilian part, they take care of the military part. That's their job. And you're fucking with both because
Yeah.
you're looking for DEI hires. Hey, quick question. Are you saying the blonde, white, blue haired guy to spy on the Saudis? I'm not. Or the
Right.
Egyptians? Or into the Chinese? We're going to send a blonde white guy to spy on the Chinese? Because that's what
Hey,
it
that
is. I
makes
mean, be honest. In the ignorance of this unbelievable Jim Crow bullshit is ridiculous. And there was Jesse Dollemore dropped a video that he said that military.com, who's not a far left paper, not fake news, stated that they have an ongoing association with the Black Engineers of America. And they always come to the celebration where they choose a young, up and coming Black engineer. And the
right.
Defense Department shows up trying to recruit them because you want the smart minds running inside technology. They were told by the Trump administration not to show up. They were told by the Trump administration to leave things like that alone. Let's face it, for some reason, are run by total absolute, at this point, total absolute racists who think that anyone of color is too stupid to do anything.
Absolutely.
Anyone of color needs to be replaced by a white man because that's the only way to get things done. And one of the generals was totally pissed off, saying, "So they're telling They're telling us no blacks, please apply. That's a
Right.
quote from a general who cannot give up his identity because chain of command. He has no
Right.
choice in this thing. But they know what they're doing is wrong. You cannot, I mean, you can't recruit from half the country. It doesn't work like that. And I get the idea because if you get a total white army, then they'll go after everybody you want. That's their thinking in the end. But it's not going to work. I mean,
Well,
it's
remember, there was another great mind that wanted to have a race war. That was Charles Manson, and if that's the kind of person we're being led by, he was a cult leader. Donald Trump is a cult leader. You know, people keep talking about this constitutional crisis. We always hear that word. I don't know that people understand what it means. And I explained it in a TikTok. I'll do it here real quickly. When they're talking about this constitutional crisis potential, I almost think that we're already in it. It's not upcoming.
we're we're knee
But
deep
but
in.
but
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. But the thing is that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are going around closing departments and firing people and cutting off funding to a lot of stuff. Uh, and the courts are saying, no, you must stop. Now, it sounds like they've already caught him continuing to do things after the courts told him to stop. Uh, Donald Trump was asked if he'd comply with the courts, and he said he would. But Donald Trump is a pathological liar, and he's not running the show. Elon Musk is. Elon Musk has less to lose than Donald Trump. So we're in kind of a constitutional potential crisis here. Now, when the courts say do something and Donald Trump refuses, theoretically, theoretically, the federal marshals should enforce this. And the federal marshals could enforce this. However, the federal marshals are under the guise of the DOJ, and theoretically, Donald Trump could say, don't do anything about it. Then we're in a constitutional crisis. The Constitution as we know it no longer exists at that point because he's usurped it. So that's what we're risking right now, and that's
Right.
why people keep talking about a constitutional crisis.
And then what's worse, what's making it worse, um, I got a video from a follower where a Democratic congressman stood up on the floor and said, "Do you notice there's not one Republican congressman in this House?
Yeah.
Not one are on the floor. Where are they? Where are they where Elon Musk and Donald Trump are destroying our country? Where are they? I'll tell you where they are. They're making pronouncements like Mike Lee talking about we need to get rid of judges. Other congressmen are saying they're going to go after federal judges. The biggest problem we're having right now with a constitutional crisis is the legislative branch under the Republicans are in cahoots with the executive branch and giving Trump this so-called fake unitary executive power. That's never
Yeah.
been a power. The founding fathers did not want that because that's a king. That's why they created the three equal branches. And the problem is the judicial branch is pushing back, going, this is constitutional, but you got the executive branch supported by the legislative branch because aren't doing anything in the Congress. Name me one
Right.
piece of legislation that's come to Congress. Not
Not a
one
thing
fucking one.
since not a thing since the new Congress has taken over.
Nothing.
Now, there's two questions that people always ask. First of all, how did we get here? That's an easy one. You
November
voted for
5th.
Donald motherfucking Trump. That's how we got here. Now, the second question is, what do we do? How do we stop this? Do you have an answer for that? Because I do.
Well, uh, I think you got my answer a couple of days ago. Is going to get the pitchforks and torches.
Yeah. Well,
That's what I'm worried about.
that's a
That's what I
second
think it's
answer
going to
that we
get
hope
to.
we don't get to. But the easiest answer to fix this situation right now is the Republicans in Congress who realize that this is hurting the country and hurting democracy. They should take a page from the Watergate era, and they should march down to the White House, sit down with Donald Trump, and say, listen, motherfucker, you either pull it back and stop this shit. Otherwise, we've got the votes in the House and the Senate to impeach you and kick your ass out. That's what they should do. But the question is, do they have the courage? And most of them don't. or are some of them just fucking evil? Some of them are. And that's the
Mhm.
problem. The fix here is with the Republicans, but we haven't had much luck with Republicans doing the right thing as of late.
And you and I were there, ground zero with Watergate. The
Yeah.
difference between the Republican Party then and the Republican Party now are people like Barry Goldwater, who were party members but put country over party.
Right.
Goldwater was the one that walked to Nixon and said, "Dude, you got to go
Yeah.
because we're going to vote you out." I mean, he was the one that did it. But see, you had senators and congressmen who had ethics and believed in the United States. Fast forward now, all of these congressmen do not care about the country; they care about themselves. A good majority of them are cultists, addicted to Donald Trump. Mike Lee, the senator from Utah, is a total absolute fascist because he keeps talking like that. They won't do it. It's not just fear anymore, Mike. I don't think it's fear. I think they really believe that what Trump's doing is going to fix the country and get rid of the corruption and the money that's being
And the
spent on
brown
programs they
people.
never like. Yeah. And then the problem is that the majority of these guys who have been elected, the new ones, are the dumbest motherfuckers on the face of the planet. They are dumb. They're fucking idiots. They don't know how the Constitution works. They never known how the Constitution works because they run on stupidity that people vote for them. I mean, these little districts that they allow districts to come from, the majority, all they talk about is bullshit. They don't talk about making the country better. They talk about culture shit and get rid of brown people. And Trump. Trump will make everything better. You put me in Congress, I'll make sure Trump gets what he wants, and that's what we're fighting. So your point is absolutely correct. The problem is the people in 1972 were actually Americans. The people in the Republicans in 2025 are Trumplicans. They don't believe in America. They believe in Trump's America.
Yeah, I
And if
agree.
you
I
don't
agree
like
with that.
it, that's a problem.
I
And
agree
that's
with
where
that.
we're at.
But given what you said about them wanting to maintain power, when the pain gets worse and worse and more people are suffering, they're going to have to recognize that they're going to take a beating in 2026. All Republicans will, if they stand by what's going on, if they stand by hurting farmers and hurting children and hurting all the people they're hurting, it's going to take its toll. And that's why I'm saying, to me, with the Republicans to do something about Donald Trump, it's going to have to get to the absolute worst moment. And then they
Yep.
probably will.
And the problem we're having though is that the Republicans are, especially the far right, are going to. I mean, I've seen it on every Sunday show, and they get these guys on. There's going to be pain. In order for Trump to fix this country, you have to suffer. Now, this is in going back to we're dealing with Christian fascists, Christian white racists, put it whatever it is. It's Christian fascist. Basically, it's Christian Taliban. It's no different than the Taliban, no difference than what they do in Iran. It's no different. Okay.
True.
And so what they're doing is something I remember years ago when I took Mesoamerican history and art. And when the conquistadors came there, when they conquered Mexico, the idea is that they had to get the people anchored to something. And that's why they brought Christianity in. Christianity, though, the Christianity they taught was to respect the rich. That if you look like a lot of Hispanic, um, uh, the best one is actually if you look at novellas. Novellas have the rich guy, the real rich guy who's kind of evil, but people serve him, but they don't want to mess with him because he's the man that's going to take care of us.
Right.
And the thing about it is that they for years they pushed on with Christianity is that if you are poor, but God is going to find a place for you, but don't worry about the rich people because God has enhanced them and they're going to take care of you. And see, that's what the Christian nationalists are doing now. They're trying to convince these people who don't have a pot to piss in and they're about to lose their pot, that they have to piss in, that it's okay. They're going to take care of you. Elon Musk has been sent from God to help you. Same with Donald Trump. You don't understand. All this money that they're stopping is going to those people that they're not going to have. They're going to take care of you and make sure that money goes to you. You know
Yeah.
that's a lie. I know that's a fucking lie, but they coach it in that way so people, look up. And it's not only a cult, but it's a religious cult at the same time. And those are the two. You combine those two, it's a motherfucker to break these people out because they
Yeah.
know
Well,
they
it's
think
kind of
it's
like
good for their soul.
it's kind of like the prosperity uh, gospel. You give me all your
Exactly.
money, and God will give you wealth. And it's all bullshit, and it's all about money. And that's the problem with evangelical Christians. It's more about money and power than it is about God, and that's why they're such a despicable fucking group. Um,
And and that's the thing that they perverted everything. There's a show if anyone can catch it. It's on Prime. It's an adaptation of the Man in the High Castle, Philip K. Dick's book
yeah,
about if World War II turned where the Germans conquered America and split it with the Japanese. The Axis powers won World War II. It's a TV adaptation. It's good to the end. The end gets kind of twisted, but there's a scene in church, and it's not a church. There's literally this is going to be on YouTube. I can say the next words right about who.
yeah. Go
This
ahead.
is good. Okay, there's literally when you go into this church, you see the stained glass there, but it's not a stained glass that we normally see of pictures of Christ or pictures from the Bible. It's fucking Adolf Hitler
Yeah,
with the sun coming through there, and the church is basically worshiping Hitler. I mean, the whole service is about Hitler and what he's done and how it's better for America and America now that he's won. And I watched that scene and it disturbs me because now as we move forward, evangelicals are no different. They have replaced God and Christ with Trump. Now they drove in Elon Musk as one of his saints and prophets. And they're looking for a promised land that I don't know what they're going to get. That promised land doesn't exist, not for them. They're going to suffer like the rest of us. But that's the hardest thing we're finding. We are finding the American Taliban combined with the Ayatollahs in Iran. We are fighting this core people who have convinced a minority of us that unfortunately showed up to vote because some of the more intellectual people decided to sit it out. And I know we're going to talk about the Palestinians in a minute.
yeah.
And here we are ruled by this core because they're slowly the idea of taking them off the government is to make them dependent on these men, make them dependent on what they say or don't do. And if you do not toe the line, you get nothing. That sounds like serfdom to me, but I could be wrong.
I think
I
people have to
mean,
remember, they always talk about Adolf Hitler. He did this. Some of the people who love Adolf Hitler were fucking absurd. But the important thing you have to remember about Adolf Hitler, how did it end up? He fucking lost. He was dead. How did it end up for Mussolini? He was fucking dead.
yeah.
So it doesn't end well for these people. It's just the suffering you have to go through up until that point.
And also you have to look at it too. How do they end? From an international effort. Now we were part of those as an international efforts to end them. And now you pissed off the entire world. See, here's the thing what Trump, Musk, and all those guys don't get. The entire world isn't buying this shit. They're not
No.
happy. Trump imposed 25% tax. It is a tax, but I'll use the word tariff on steel and aluminum.
Right.
And the EU said, okay, what the fuck? We don't care anymore. I mean, sure, we'll just do retaliatory. This is where you want to play, we'll play. Because he thinks he's intimidating them to come to some kind of negotiations where America comes out ahead. It's not going to happen.
He always
It's
loses.
not going to happen.
Every time he
Yeah,
does that, he loses.
and he's convinced, and I think we talked about it last night on my live. People don't hear this because the mass media is hiding a lot of shit. The
Yeah.
mass media is trying to run for cover. Fucking Disney got rid of the DE officer within Disney itself, who prided itself in bringing new voices in to keep Trump off their backs. It's stupid because Bob Iger is a pussy instead of standing up for it. But what they're doing, they're the same thing with the mass media. They're not really telling us everything. Sometimes stories leak through. But
Yeah.
the thing we're not hearing, and I'm getting from some people who are my followers in Canada, you're probably get the same thing from Canadian followers. The Canadians are getting ready for war.
Yeah.
They're not fucking around. They're not like the majority of Americans going, whatever. I don't think he's going to do it. No, they fucking think he's going to do it. And Trump is determined. He got this 51st state in his head, thinking that the Canadians would bow to him. No. And again, if you make a military move on Canada, you better be prepared to nuke the country because they're not giving it up.
Well, and
That's
it's not
fucking
just them
very
you're going to be
different.
fighting. You're not just going to be
Yeah.
fighting them. You're going to have other
So,
countries coming in, Britain or England coming in. You're going to have all kinds of other NATO countries coming
it's
in and go, no, fucker, this is not happening.
yeah, it's military fucking cosplay for these guys. There was there's some Georgia congressman who's just put a bill in Congress. This is what we're dealing with. Okay, to rename Greenland red, white, and blue land. I motherfucking read that. I'm going, Saturday Night Live is celebrating its 50th anniversary. I didn't know it was going to become a fucking reality. I mean,
Well, if
if
you're going to
you
rename
ever,
something, come be a little fucking creative. Have
I
somebody
mean,
with
it's like,
above a
I'm
fourth
like
grade
going,
creative ability.
I'm like going, fuck. I mean, and the Denmark was trolling us. They're saying that they're going to ask each citizen of Denmark to put in $18,000 and asked to buy California from the United States for something $1 trillion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a joke. I mean, they're going to rename it New Denmark. I mean, it's a joke because that's what they're trying to do, like what J.B. Pritzker did. The
Yeah.
problem is we think it's ridiculous and funny. The people who are true believers do not.
Well, I mean, when a bully comes up to you and says, I'm going to punch you in the mouth, you have to take him seriously because he's unhinged and because he may have the ability. Um, I don't blame him for taking it seriously. And can you imagine if they piss off or scare Mexico and Canada at the same time? We've got people on both ends pissed off at us. That's
Right?
not going to turn out well for Donald Trump unless we nuke somebody. And let's be honest, you ain't going to nuke Canada because then you're going to nuke half the fucking America.
I know, and it's like that's the thing. They think it's like they think it's like what's going on in Ukraine with Russia. Okay, the Russians are literally still getting their asses kicked. I mean, it's at a standstill right now, but the only reason that NATO didn't step in to an extent, because especially when he came close to Poland or talked about Poland, is that they are afraid that that man's crazy enough to nuke Europe. He would. He's a nut. Um, and I think those in the Trump White House who believe in the new manifest destiny think that we are a nuclear power. So if we just threaten nuclear, they'll roll over for us. I will guarantee you the Canadians and the Mexicans would rather be a nuclear wasteland than live under the thumb of Donald Trump.
Oh, I
I mean,
agree.
that's what you fuck it. I mean, you're gonna do it, fuck it. And that's the thing. We are living in as I said one more time, we're living in a fantasy land that doesn't make sense to the rest of it. It makes sense to these people. They believe that America is all powerful and everyone will bend the knee. Moving forward, where I touched on the Palestinians, uh, Jordan's king was at the White House the other day. Now, the his proposal to farm out Palestinians, pick them up and drop them in Arab countries around there, didn't get a real good reception, even from the Saudis. Um, but Trump threatened to take away their aid because I thought he already did take away their aid, but whatever, if they didn't cooperate. So the Jordanian king agrees, okay, we'll take some children. All right, I mean, it's a humanitarian thing, fine. But in that
Yeah.
discussion, they asked Trump about God and everything falling apart because you mentioned it earlier about the hostage thing falling apart because Trump's fucking with it. I
Yeah.
mean, this whole Palestinian thing is fucking with it. Hamas is like, okay, if you're going to bulldoze us, fuck it, we'll keep the hostages. Now the Israelis are rattling swords again, and Trump's saying we're just going to, wipe it out. But they asked him, what do you? I mean, again, because it was with the Elon Musk thing, so they asked him a question about it, and he said, "We're going to own Gaza. We're going to take it over, and we're going to turn it into something else. America's going to own Gaza." And apparently, according to the report, that Marco Rubio was disturbed. Marco Rubio don't give a shit. He's a fucking puppet. Um, but to
Well,
say that American presidents said that in
that
our lifetime.
that is damaging internationally. Like nobody really understands. I don't think, because here's the thing. Um, you got Israel on one side. Donald Trump thinks he has ultimate power over Israel, and I beg to differ about that.
Hmm.
And Hamas is a terroristic group. He's trying to bully them, and he says he's going to go in, displace, basically ethnically cleanse Gaza with the Palestinians, put them in other countries that don't want them and aren't going to take them, and build something beautiful there. Here's what Donald Trump has to understand: it's one thing you fuck around in your own country, but you go over in the Middle East. These people are pretty demonstrative about their fucking hate. And
Yes.
the thing about it is, no Muslim community is going to be happy about, or Islamic community is going to be happy about America coming in the middle of there and taking control. And I think he thinks Israel is on his side too. But
No.
you have to understand, Israel would love to have the Palestinians out of there, but they covet that land, that Gaza Strip. The
Right.
idea that America would come in and take it, Israel's not going to be fucking happy about that either.
You and I grew up during the Vietnam War. Okay. I mean, in the height of it, 68, 69, I was 6, 7 years old, 8 years old. But I remember the daily newscast, the national newscast. And what did they have? The amount of Americans who died or wounded or died in Vietnam today. I remember that like up on the board, like, basically like a scoreboard. And then I remember later on when Reagan fucked around in Lebanon, cost us 240 Marines and a terrorist attack. You don't, if you put American troops in Gaza, on that land, one, you're telling American troops to ethnically cleanse an area, which I think is illegal orders, but also every Marine, naval personnel, Army, anyone is there, just got to put a target on their back. Because if these people feel like they got nothing to lose, it's on. They don't care. And if it isn't there, it's going to be here in the United States.
Here's the thing:
It's a
Donald Trump then
bad
went on to
fucking
say, "I don't
idea.
think we're going to put." Oh, I don't think we're going to put military in there. He backed off of that. But here's the thing: you build American properties, you put American people in there, it's going to get fucking bombed. There's just no question about it. The
Oh, no,
Islamic people are not going to be happy about this, and they're going to try to destroy it, and they will destroy it.
does he think the Israelis are going to finish the job for him, then sell us the land? No, the Israelis want to put their settlements in there. They want a greater Israel. That the conservative, where we have conservatives talk about manifest destiny, they have conservatives that want a greater Israel, which includes the West Bank, the Golan Heights, Gaza, all the way out. And some will want the Sinai Desert, but they don't want to mess with the Egyptians. That's
Right.
a greater Israel. They've always talked about that on the conservative side. And if you think that the Israelis, first of all, the majority of Israelis do not want Netanyahu there, and they just can't get rid of him. It's like a fucking tick. You can't get rid of it. Because the minute he's out, he's going to jail. We
Right.
know this. I know that. But he's hanging on for dear life. And the war keeps going. The threat keeps going. So the Israelis have to stay with it. But if he does it and sells land to America, to Donald Trump, to Netanyahu was meeting with Jared Kushner today. Wow. What does that tell you? And if I'm an Israeli, that's telling me right there are deals being made, guys. And those settlements, which are religious, going back to the religious point we talked about, which are
Right.
religious, going to piss off a lot of Orthodox, and they're not going to be happy that happens. Especially if it's going to be a play toy for all oligarchs around the world. Fuck that
Yeah.
for them.
Well, the thing you have to understand, prior to the election, Biden pretty much put enough pressure on Israel. That's what he had to do, put enough pressure on Israel to get this ceasefire. When Donald Trump comes in, he's buddies with Bibi Netanyahu. And make no mistake, Bibi Netanyahu does not want this war to end. He wants to perpetuate it so he stays safe and stays out of jail. And once Donald Trump took over as president, he didn't have the pressure that Joe Biden was putting on him, and now he can fuck around and do whatever he wants. And that's why I said prior or right after the election, ceasefire, yeah, maybe. It seemed like a foregone conclusion before the election, but it's not now. I wouldn't be surprised if it all falls apart and we have the fighting again. And then Donald Trump tries to blame it on fucking Biden.
Well, here, if you notice one thing, when Biden was fighting for the ceasefire, trying to put pressure on Israel, Israel poked a fight with the Iranians. Well, the Iranians were ready, and we had that whole issue of the missiles. Not that night of the missiles, which never got through because we protected Israel with our military in the Red Sea and off the coast.
Right.
But have you noticed that they haven't fucked with the Iranians? There hasn't been a word from the Iranians.
That is
Not a
interesting.
damn thing. Nothing on that side. They're just saying, like it's the old adage: when your enemies are doing something stupid, let them,
Yeah.
because that's what they're doing. They know it's self-destructive. They know if they do that, where the radicals, Hamas is going to go, or the Gazans are displaced and go to Hamas, they're going to run to Iran.
Well,
Iran's
you
going to
know,
supply, or Iran's going to be there to pick them up.
you were talking about this press conference that Donald Trump had with the King of Jordan. And what always strikes me is Donald Trump just says whatever comes in his head, no matter how fucking stupid. There is no way the King of Jordan would be on board. And he said as much afterwards, be on board with Donald Trump taking over the Gaza Strip. Now, when Donald Trump said that if they don't take the Palestinians, then we'll impose sanctions or tariffs or whatever the fuck he was going to do. So the King of Jordan comes. He doesn't want that to happen. It's going to be tough on his country. So he says, I no doubt he said to Donald Trump, we can't do that. We're not doing that. And then Donald Trump has to find a way to save face or to claim a win. So they negotiate this thing where Jordan will take in 2,000 children with cancer. And then King of Jordan's going, yeah, that's humanitarian. I'll do that. And then Donald Trump says, see, I got him to take some Palestinians. Well, 2,000 is a lot less than fucking 2 million. You didn't get a win. You got a morsel, and now you're grandstanding like you're the fucking hero. These countries aren't going to take those Palestinian refugees, nor should they, just because Donald Trump said so. That's what I don't understand. How long is it going to be for Israel and the Islamic countries to say, fuck Donald Trump? Mind your own motherfucking business. You have no power over here.
Yeah. And a part of it is, to be blunt, and this is the truth, all the other countries hate the Palestinians anyway. They don't want them in their country. They consider them persona non grata. They don't
Yeah.
want them around because they conceive them as trouble. The Jordanians don't want a Palestinian presence. That usually means Hamas. And there'll be Hamas people in those. Let's be blunt. There'll be Hamas people in there. They don't want
Oh,
that
yeah.
shit. The Syrians don't want it, and even have to get rid of their last dictator. They don't want the trouble. What they want is for this to end and the Palestinians to have their own country. So it's their problem and not theirs. But we have got this was going back now. We're a year and a half into this. Hamas started this. It was a horrific attack. The Israelis responded, but over responded as they knew they would, because Benjamin Netanyahu had troops somewhere else, and it became worse than it was. So the Israeli people are stuck because it's not really Israel. It's Netanyahu. The
Right.
majority of Israelis
Exactly.
do not want this shit. They want this over, but they're stuck in this parliamentary hell that it can get out of because the Orthodox and in these small parties keep them locked in, and they're screwed. The majority of Israelis do not want this shit. And you know what? There's a good amount of Israeli citizens who are Arabs that Netanyahu tried to get rid of. Sound familiar? Um, it's it's a catch-22, and then you add in stupid with being Donald Trump. Here we are, a man who sees an opportunity for himself,
Right.
not doesn't care about what it will cost in American blood or American money, but an opportunity to make more money for himself and his family, an opportunity to um, the whole Kennedy Center thing. He firing all those people. Donald Trump in New York has been a pariah to high society for years. He
Right.
coveted to be part of high society, but he was too crude. They knew his father. His father was a dick. They never wanted the Trump families near high society. The only reason he touched it because he had money and women and drugs. They do that, but he never got invited to the gala,
No.
Metropolitan Gala. He was never seen as one of them. He was seen as, the bad stepchild that we tolerate because he makes
Right.
us some money on the side. So the whole going back to this, he'll do anything to court love from the very rich, Elon Musk, Bezos, the world. The idea of him building that for those people will make him loved by them. And if it means few thousand American soldiers and and a bunch of Palestinians wiped off the map. Well, I got what I wanted. Fuck you. And that's what we're dealing with right now. There is no plan for this. This is him just knocking shit down so he can get what he wants in the end, which I'm in charge. Fuck Congress. Fuck the judicial. Everything I say is I go because I'm the smartest man here and I've got all these people that tell me that. Fuck all you. Well, Mr. President, we don't have anything either. So it's like, fuck you. I'm eating. That's
Yeah.
your problem. You should have been poor. And if you don't think that you think that's a reach. No, listen how Republicans talk about helping people in all the states, in Mississippi, in Alabama, in Louisiana, these in Oklahoma. These states are turning into little fascist states.
Yeah.
Mississippi is trying to pass a bill where they want to pick up so-called immigrants, not even try them, put them in paid prisons, and then use them for labor. They
Right.
in this bill is bounty hunters, what we used to call slave catchers in the old in during the Civil War, to
Right.
find these people and bring them in so they can use them as a labor force. And this is in the legislature branch of Mississippi, Oklahoma. They're trying to ban romance books, but not ban them, criminalize romance books. I mean, in Louisiana is a cesspool of nothing but bullshit, and Alabama the same. And you people are finding out right now that you're gonna pay the price because Donald Trump just said also, hey, the next hurricane that comes through and wipes out your shit, Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, Arkansas too, Georgia, where I'm at, North and South Carolina. You know that hurricane that like we had three in the last 5 years? That's your fucking problem.
Yeah.
Federal government's not to do that. I'm gonna get rid of FEMA because that money's a waste. You should handle your own shit. Fuck you. That's not the federal government problem. That's a state problem. Last time I checked, states made up the federal government, but that's just thinking. Fuck all you. That money I could use for something else, my golf.
Yeah. Well,
I
exactly.
mean,
And that's what I'm
and that's
saying is when enough red states start to struggle with this, there's going to have be the uprising of the Democrats, and that you talked about pitchforks and torches. And I think that's unfortunately where we may be headed. As long as we have cowardice in the Republican Party, that's what it's going to have to be. And that will have an impact. And then you'll get red states doing it too, because they'll be starving, they'll be struggling. I mean, Alabama is already freaking the fuck out with the NIH money. The biggest
Yep.
employer in all of Alabama is the college down there, and it's going to
Right.
take a huge hit. A lot of people, biggest employer down there is this university, and they're going to have to fire a lot of motherfucking people. And
And the
that's
thing
not going to
about it,
sit well in Alabama.
no, and the thing about it is overall, again, going back to the where we touched on it, just the NIH, the National Health is NHI, whatever. Help me here. I just NIM, National Institute of Health.
Right.
They see it as a federal program that needs to be eliminated. They don't
Right.
see what it does. They don't care. They just see all this money. Fuck, he got rid of cancer research, of government cancer research. He froze their funds. I mean, the CDC is sitting there going, hey, you know what? We got things that are going on. Fuck you. Sit there. They're about ready to remove the CDC. Trust me, that's next on the list, especially with that if that motherfucker gets through Senate, RFK, and it's looking like he is, which scares the hell out of me. CDC's done. Disease, pestilence. It's a fucking book of Revelations, people. It's insane because these guys think that that money that's been allocated by Congress that created these organizations are corrupt money. Why is it corrupt? Because we say so.
Yeah.
Because the federal government runs it. They don't talk about what it does. They don't. It's just that it's corrupt. That's the whole thing that MAGA is hanging on to. Well, I mean, every comment again on this. Also, you don't like them festering out corruption. That's not Elon Musk does. We had inspector generals that did that, and it goes through Congress, and they have hearings. Not one man that no one elected to do this shit with an organization that never was created by Congress.
Yeah.
And see, that's where we're at. The constitutional crisis comes from an unconstitutional situation that was created before he became president. And
Right.
it just popped up and no one stopped it. And Republicans, they're not afraid, Mike. They're literally, what happens when you got a drug dealer? What's the word? They're enablers.
Yeah.
They're
Absolutely, they are
enablers.
enablers.
They are fucking enablers. And what an enabler is basically, they think they benefit. In the end, it will bite them in the ass. The problem is all the people around them, the family members, his job, all those people around him that are gone. They've been effective. There's no one there to stop them. I mean, one person described like MAGA woman. Why does a woman support this? And someone said it straight up: a MAGA woman is the woman who would defend the husband after they've been accused of going into their 9-year-old daughter's room at night.
Absolutely.
That's the Republican fucking party. They're all enablers. And that's the problem. I'm not hitching my ride on that because they think in the end they still would it will work out. They think that we're all going to get tired and lie down. That we're all going to lie down. Or if they kill enough of us, if it gets really bad, then we're all capitulate. They don't know Americans real well. They really
No, they,
don't.
they definitely don't know us at all. You know, we talk about all the things we need to do to stop what's going on with Donald Trump and Elon Musk and the radical Republican Party. And we talked about the Republicans actually getting some backbone and standing up and pushing back against Donald Trump. That's not likely. The courts may not stop him because he may just ignore the courts, and there's really no way to enforce that. We're finding out. You always say, out come the torches and the pitchforks. Why don't you explain to folks what you mean by that?
I mean, Americans were the American Republic was born literally from protests. And
Right.
what did they do? I mean, dumping tea. Let's be honest. our forefathers, especially those who dumped the tea in the Boston Harbor, we picked a fight with the superpower of the world.
Right.
Understand when they decided to move, they literally were able to push everyone out into they did it hardcore. If it wasn't for the French, we'd be who hated for the other superpower, we'd been that would have been a bunch of people being hanged and we'll all be speaking with an English accent. It'd be a
Right.
rush. Um, so we were born for not taking shit. We've done this over the years. Now the Civil War was, part of it to an extent, but that we just don't cater to that well. Even the MAGA. I mean, MAGA talks shit, but they're really going to get tired of being told what to do. I see that that's the one saving grace in the end that their Americanism will will come out. So if you remember the George Floyd protest, I'm not
Right.
going to say riot. The riots were created by the far right, and we know this, but that was I mean, the stories of Minnesota burning the ground, Minneapolis burning the grounds alive. But I remember one thing when the protests broke out here in Atlanta. There was one woman they spoke to one black lady, and she said, the one thing about what we're doing here is that we don't want to burn everything down. We just want to be part of it. We want people to
Right.
understand that we don't want to be treated like we're all equal. But you should be glad we have not decided to burn the whole thing down because we could if we wanted to.
Right.
And that's the truth. They weren't armed. The majority of persons were not armed. But I think the next level, and I think Mr. Suave said this last night in my live, why, if people are protesting out of the Treasury building, no, the next step is you go into the Treasury building and sit your ass down and go, we're not leaving until you fix this. That's step two. And what's going to happen? I know what's going to happen. Someone's going to get shot, and the Republic's going to say you got what you wanted. At that point, that's when things are going to start steamroll because you're going to start fucking with Americans' livelihood and money. They keep saying they're not going to do it with Social Security. They're coming for Social Security. They are coming for your Social Security. Do not believe them. They're coming for your Social Security. They're coming for your disability checks. They're coming for your food stamps because the narrative is poor people are lazy, and the reason they're lazy is because they have this. If they didn't have this, they would have jobs. You
Right.
and I know that circumstances don't work like that all the time. It's bullshit. It's a safety net for the worse that it is. And if you get there, then it's on. And I don't give a fuck if Trump declares martial law. There aren't enough military and police to do anything to stop everybody. It'll
Yeah.
be a lot of bodies, and it'll be
Well,
getting more, and people will push more because at that point we got nothing to lose,
right.
and
Well,
it'll be
and
nasty.
what you're suggesting, we have some recent history, relatively recent
Mhm.
history, to prove what you're saying. And I talked
Mhm.
about this before. It was about the Vietnam War era
Mhm.
and how that ended. Who ended it? It wasn't the Democrats because Lyndon Baines
It
Johnson
was
perpetuated the war. It wasn't
his
the
only mistake.
Republicans. Republicans didn't do it because Richard Nixon perpetuated the war. It went on and on. Finally, he announced that he was going to stop the war, but not because he wanted to, not because he wanted to cut off money from the industrial military complex. It was because of the pressure put on by the young people in this country. And if you weren't old enough to remember, I was pretty young, but there were protests and there were
Yeah,
riots and there were all kinds of things. The young people, the hippies, kept pushing and pushing. And every time the older folks tried to diminish them, they're just young people, they're stupid, they don't know what's going on. But the pressure got so big that they had to bend to them. And that's
yeah. It
something that the Americans aren't afraid to do if they have to.
and there were two ugly incidents that also helped. Kent State
Kent State,
was
yeah,
one. Kent State was one, and the other thing you have to understand: the My Life massacre was eye opening for a lot of people when
yeah,
that happened. That was the first time people started to see because the images came to your TV and you saw that, and that was Americans doing that,
Right.
and that started to push on that too, and it pushed Johnson and Johnson. That's why Johnson didn't run for re-election because they knew he'd be screwed because of the war. For all good he did, that was his one mistake. He was too anti-communist. He got sucked into that whole thing. But that's the irony of that. Kennedy part would have pulled us out, but not done the social stuff that Johnson did. And Johnson did the social stuff that helped America get to where it is, but didn't pull us out of the war. And it's the irony of that. It's never lost on me. The so I don't know. The we've said this. We've said it to a lot of people. Is that it might because I love Eric, but Eric still thinks that Congress is going to save us. Eric still believes in it. Trust me, I believe in the Constitution. I do. I believe in our form of government. But recently, I'm watching these guys enable more and not protest because they think they're going to come out winners. When
Yeah.
all everything's done, they think they're going to come out winners because they'll be under the Trump Musk umbrella and they're going to get paid well for doing it. The problem is now with the judiciary, the only way they're going to get anyone to push if they get some arm of law enforcement that goes against Trump and says, fuck it, we're going to enforce the judge's orders, whether you like it or not, being a member of the military or maybe even, Washington police said, yeah, okay, we'll do that. I don't know that happened. I doubt it. That's
Well,
our problem right now.
but that's the point. I understand what Eric's saying, and theoretically, the Congress should stop all
Right.
this stuff. But if Donald Trump is doing it now, and the judges say stop, and he doesn't stop, who's to think that Congress is going to do it unless they get together and say we're impeaching
Right.
your fucking ass? And
And
that's where the
and
Republicans have to step up.
yeah, and the Republicans aren't going to step up. You could hear them. Some are cowards, but the good amount of them think that they're going to get something out of it. They're
I
letting
think
the
I think
crazy work.
I think there will be a line. I don't know what that line is where the Republicans will say, a fuck enough. We got to stop. I just don't know where that is and how long we have to wait
If
to
enough,
get
going
there.
back to the yeah, going back to the Pittsburgh thing, if enough of us stand up, because do you remember the first freeze? And then
Right.
all of a sudden, everyone started to go in panic mode, and they started to get phone calls, and everyone started to go on and on, and they backed off because people didn't know they were going to get their money. Now there's still signs that they're not getting money, but it's like in little pockets. See, that's the pressure they fear. Because that's the thing. Elon Musk is running rampant. He's gonna do something he thinks is right because he thinks he's God right now. Because every time someone criticizes him, he's basically saying, "Fuck you, I'll do what I
Yeah.
want." If you, I mean, like the Doge kids or what these little punk ass bitches are running around, doing stuff. And some congressmen defending them. I mean, one congressman said, "We're going to go after 19, 20 year olds." Yeah, I'm going to go after 19, 20 year olds for little punk ass bitches. They're old enough. They're going
Yeah.
to get the fucking consequences. If you play the game, you're going to pay. But if they, I'm waiting because right now all these things freeze and they're going to fire a bunch of people. It's going to get to the point the push is going to come because we saw the minimal push. You saw what happened. Trump went,
Right.
ooh, and he said, ooh. And like with the tariffs, why did we back off on the tariff? Because business went pushed and they went, ooh. But here's the thing I think, and I'm hoping before it gets to us on the streets, they're fucking around like we started earlier. I read that they're in the DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency. They're fucking with the CIA. They've been in Homeland Security, but that's safe territory now because the dog killer's in charge. But their Homeland Security agents ain't going to dig that. The FBI agents aren't going to dig that. The point I'm saying is he's going to mess with something that those men are going to do something. They're going to push back.
Yeah.
Something is going to happen in that way. I mean, especially the DIA. If you want, and trust me, we know that there's already reports that Elon Musk talks to Vladimir Putin per day. That tells us some. That's a fucking huge security risk. There are people in the DIA and CIA running around screaming, but no one's hearing them, or they're doing it in the low end because they don't want to get targeted. They know that's a security risk. They know what he is, and there's no way DIA is giving him those names because he's going to run right to Moscow.
Right.
But those people are going to do something drastic to save the Constitution because I think they know better. I find it hard to believe that members of the military, the upper echelon military, are going to willfully roll over and say the president said I got to quit. Please tell me I'm right, because if I'm wrong, then I'll be truly at that point. It's on. Then we know we're fucked. Because if those men who has dedicated their life to serving the Constitution do not step up because they fear Trump or figure they have to listen to the president, even though it's fucked up, we need to consider at that point we're at the end of our rope, and we at that point it's us. I mean, when Trump won the election, it was bad enough. And I'll be honest, I knew it was going to be bad. I did not know it was going to be this.
It's
I
bad
did not
this quick. Yeah.
anticipate. I did not anticipate Elon Musk popped up at the end with money, but I did not expect him to become basically the shadow president. I didn't. I
If
did not think that was the possibility or realm that people would let that happen, but they let that happen. Those in charge let that happen. Now we're
people
seeing what's going on.
people ask me why were you wrong about Kamala Harris getting elected, and frankly, it was I overestimated the people of this country. I overestimated them, and in terms of somebody in Congress or the Republicans, maybe we've overestimated what kind of humans these people are because they're cowards or delusional or evil in their own right. And you're right with people like in the CIA and FBI. There's but if I'm going to piss off a group of people, I'm not going to piss off those people and set them loose
Right.
with those kind of skills. That's going to come back to haunt some people.
I mean, it's a conundrum because everyone follows the rule of law. We've done that. That's been the
Supposedly,
thing
yeah.
for centuries. But now we have someone who just basically says, "You elected me. I do whatever the fuck I want because I run everything." That's the problem we're seeing because Trump is running the country like he ran his businesses. Fortunately, he's going to run everything to the ground. But
Right.
but now he's got a sugar daddy. And sugar daddy, I don't know what Musk wants. I don't get it. You got all more money than God. What good would you be here? You're not. What do you want?
Well, he's
I
a
mean,
malignant narcissist too. He wants the power, he wants the attention, he wants to be loved. And that's the thing about with Donald Trump and Elon Musk. They desperate for adulation. And what they're doing is getting them the opposite. So what do? They don't say, well, maybe I should change it up. They just do what they're doing harder because they think I'm so smart that eventually people will appreciate what I'm doing. This is all about megalomania. This is all about narcissism. And these people, both of them, are mentally ill, literally
yeah,
mentally
I do
ill.
agree. Fuck that autism thing. That's bullshit.
Oh, I
You
don't give a
don't
fuck about
function like he
autism.
does like that. That's bullshit.
I know plenty of
Um,
autistic people that aren't evil.
I mean, he comes from a background of absolute total control.
Yeah.
Apartheid in South Africa, even though it was an elected government, was a totalitarian government. I mean, simple as that.
Yeah.
He comes from that, and I guess he thinks the only way that the best kind of government is one person in charge and everyone just does what he says.
Right.
It's. I mean, that's the thing. There's no plan. See, the thing about it is, I just see them just knocking shit down, but there's no plan. Or,
Right.
or maybe there's a plan we're not aware of that's
No.
absolutely, I mean, they're basically going to suck America dry of its money and then basically you're screwed. Good luck. Um,
What you have to
I
understand
don't know.
about Donald Trump and Elon Musk is they think they're so smart and smarter than everybody else. They can just shoot from the hip, and every time they'll hit the fucking bullseye. That's what they think. They continually fail. I mean, be
Right.
honest with you, Elon Musk isn't that different than Donald Trump. Everything he tries, he fails. Let's take a look at X. Let's take a look at how the sales for Tesla are going. You know, what people don't understand is he has a $400 billion, but it ain't going to be hard to take that fucker down to nothing. If Tesla fails, that's about half of his fucking wealth. And then if he gets his contracts taken away when Donald Trump's not in the way anymore, this motherfucker's on the street.
Yeah, a lot of people think a lot of it is because he's been investigated several ways, and this is a way of him defending himself and basically getting even with those who question him. Um, that's why he fired the FAA, or he literally fired the
Right.
FAA director because he was questioning. They had some problems with SpaceX. We need to talk about it because that's my job, but you don't tell him no. So where does that leave us? I don't. I'm hoping that someone finally will step up. I don't know. It may come down to us. But one thing I will say with people, um, Fox News or Fox during the Super Bowl, people were saying Donald Trump better, he was cheered. No, he wasn't. That was fake cheers that Fox
Yeah, no, he was booed.
network put in. You get away from that. People who were at the stadium, he was booed.
He
I mean,
was.
because the majority of fans in there were Philadelphia Eagle fans. And
Well,
Philadelphia does not like the man.
and if they loved him, why did he leave early?
Oh, he left. Yeah, but
And you notice during the game, they didn't show him much. I thought that was weird. They didn't show him much because if they
nope.
showed him, then the fucking crowd would go nuts and boo him. So they just
Boom,
avoided
exactly.
it by not showing him.
And there was complaints that why didn't they show him? Why was he part of? When they said at the beginning of the game, I was listening to it. There's going to be a surprise with a coin flip. I go, fuck, they're going to let him flip the coin. No, it turned out to be something else. Actually, something nice that surprised me. Um, and through the whole game, no, I didn't watch the game. I'm sitting there, but my kids popped it on because they just like
Yeah.
to watch. They don't believe in football, but they like to watch it and make fun of it,
Yeah.
especially because they're soccer and now baseball fans. But they know a game going out of control. If he had shown up, they would have been pissed. I know that. I didn't even bring it up. And through the broadcast, no, they showed Taylor Swift a couple times,
Yeah.
but not him. They showed all the other celebrities there, and I'm going, here we go. He wasn't there. And the point being is correct. Now the NFL, and the worst thing though, these corporations keep fucking catering to them, like Disney. Disney, you're huge. Stop it. Tell them to fuck off. The NFL, the big conversation now is like the Kendrick Lamar halftime show. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not a rap fan, but I've heard some of his music. Okay, and
Yeah.
if you listen to the words and what they were trying to do, it was a piece on the hypocrisy of America
Right.
because Samuel L. Jackson dressing up as Uncle Sam was basically saying, just basically him being a black man said, hey, you need to cooperate. If you listen to what he says, he's telling him, hey, don't do this. And then when they do the slow piece, the song that came from Black Panther, he goes, yeah, that's what people want to hear. You're almost there. And then he busts out the song that won Record of the Year and Song of the Year, which is an absolute just blast. And he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. And all the MAGA flipped out. My
Yeah.
God, these people, and the worst thing is that did not, they say, quote, well, his performance didn't appeal to the majority of Americans. Really? go through TikTok and reactions to the Kendrick Lamar show. The
I will
much
tell you, I will
okay.
tell you this. If they're saying nobody, the majority didn't understand it. I watched it. I'm not a rap fan. I'm 64 years old. I know who Kendrick Lamar is. My kid loves Kendrick Lamar. I know he's a talented guy. He's got a Pulitzer Prize. When he first did it, I didn't get it. I was just looking at it as entertainment. Then when it was explained to me how it was symbolic, I go, wow, I like that. I like that. But they can say whatever they want about Kendrick Lamar. I can say whatever I want about Kendrick Lamar. But you know what?
Mhm.
More people watch that halftime show than ever in history. And more
Exactly.
people watch that halftime show than watch the fucking game. So,
Exactly. Yeah, and it's like, I mean, if you hear some of the words, like there was a poignant moment when he was about to go into that song, knowing he was going to be problems, and like his chorus, like a Greek chorus. It was a fucking Greek chorus. The women behind him, are you going to do it? And he goes, yeah. And he said, it's a culture thing, 2 mules and 40 acres. And I hit me. I go, yeah, that's what they promised slaves after they were freed, that they would
right,
have land in the West, 2 mules and 40 acres, but they were nigged on it.
right.
And that's just, and see, it was, and that's the thing. You listen to it and you saw it. It was a point, and there's a. I mean, the other line he said, the revolution will be televised, but we have, but uh,
You picked the
televised.
right time,
We
but
need
the
to do
wrong
it
guy.
at the right time, but the wrong guy. And man, MAGA fucking flipped out. And he was gone by there. He was going to leave for that. He was gone in an hour. Why did
Yeah,
you leave after an hour? Well, because you picked the Kansas City Chiefs. By the way, the Lamar family is all fucking Trumpers.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
big time.
absolutely.
They're the ones that are behind a lot of the shit going on in Missouri. Fact. And so they got fucking hosed. And he left for that because he picked Kansas City. And I saw a video of a fan going, Kansas City fan screaming, "This is Trump's fault. He fucking picked our team. What the fuck?" She was crying. I have to laugh. I'm sorry, but
Yeah,
that's the point.
I,
Go
I'm a
ahead.
Vikings fan because I'm in Minnesota. I hate
Mhm.
Philadelphia because their fucking fans are just animals. They've come here and done some horrible shit, and I'm tired of Kansas City. But then everything about Kansas City struck me as Trump. They're red. You got
Yeah,
Pat Mahomes, who never talks about politics, but his wife and his brother are rabid Trump fans. So you got to assume he is. Travis Kelsey, who I'm getting tired of, says that it's an honor to play in front of Donald Trump, which is the dumbest fucking thing to say when you're dating Taylor fucking Swift, for God's sake. He's done
hmm
nothing but rip her apart. Uh, I just I just felt like they were all complicit with all this stuff. I looked
yeah,
at them as an arm of Trump, and I hope they got destroyed. And
and
thankfully
they
they
did.
did. They
That
got
that was
curb
that was
stomped.
exactly. I mean, I know when we again, my kids watching it who don't really know football, but like when they picked off Mahomes and went for the touchdown, my son's going, "Well, this is over." I mean,
Yeah.
he knew what was going, and but the point being is like they keep insisting, they keep insisting that what Lamar didn't represent the majority of country. They keep saying that out loud, but it's not true. The majority of the country understood what was going on. The majority of the country watched that. And when he gets to the end of that one line, A minor, the entire fucking stadium is saying it. You can't fucking say that it's that your little minority is the majority because you're not. And that goes back to what we're saying. These people are afraid of a minority that have money behind them. The problem is the majority of us are getting very antsy, very upset, and you really don't want to take the stopper off that bottle. You don't, because then choices will be made, and it's going to be a mess. I don't want that. I don't want my country to turn into a fucking battlefield. I don't want to see that. I don't. I don't want choices made by states. I don't want this country to break because one man's ego, two men's ego, and a bunch of fucking money. Because I
Right.
have to understand, for the business guys there, do you think that's good for business guys? I
Mm-mm.
mean, those in the Wall Street Journal, do you think it's good for business for the country to come apart? For the dollar to be useless?
Can't be.
For production and everything to stop? For him to do what he's doing? Just because you wanted tax cuts that they're even fighting amongst themselves in Congress because they know it's $3 trillion that they can't pull off? Is that what you want to sacrifice? For all the things you want, Jeff, if people can't afford to buy your shit anymore, what good is your money? I mean, you got to stack to the walls, but if no one's going to do anything, what good is it? Again, I don't fault people for making money, but when you use it for things that affect others to harm them, then you become evil. You let
And
money take power for you.
when you got all the money in the world and it's still not enough, and you've got to infringe on average people just trying to get by, that's where it becomes evil. And
Or
I'm presuming that's how this is going to end up. Donald Trump will either keel over eating a Big Mac or something else will happen. And then the cult leader will be gone. There's nobody to really replace Donald Trump as a cult leader. Nobody has that kind of pull or power or support. And when that happens, shit's going to come apart. People
right,
like Elon Musk, people like Jeff Bezos, all the people that knelt to Donald Trump are going to have to answer for what they did. And it will be exposed for how evil it truly is. These
yeah,
fuckers,
because
they better be hoping that they can hold on to this for a lifetime because this isn't going to last. And when it does end, these people are in trouble.
and JD Vance, I keep telling what JD Vance. JD Vance doesn't have the same charisma as Trump. JD Vance is who he is. He's a mannequin moving to whatever is going to benefit him. When he said about judges, that didn't come from JD Vance's head. That was fed to him by other people. The
Right.
tech bros. The tech bros would say, well, now we'll take over. No, you're not. I mean, come on. Trump, unfortunately, is a religious icon at this point, and that's what's holding all this together.
Right.
If he, if he's not in there, then the infighting begins, and you don't know what's going to happen there. What will Congress do? I mean, if you can't fear him, they don't. They say they fear Elon Musk. I really don't think they fear Musk. I don't
No.
think they say that Musk says
Without
I'm gonna primary you. No, you don't have that political power. You got money. You got political power. You
without
don't.
Donald Trump, Congress would tear that fucker apart. They would strip him
Oh
of
yeah.
all of his contracts, take all his money, and kick his ass out the country. That's what they would do. And that's why I'm saying Donald Trump better stick around if Elon Musk wants to survive, because without Donald Trump, he is fucked. He won't be able to do
And
anything at all.
so many of people who watch this are I get, videos of people. What do you think? What should we do? What do you think? Because I get it. Because you see all this come down and you're going, you're at your wits fucking end. So the
Yeah.
first thing I'm going to tell you all, at least half your day, watch something that makes you happy.
Yeah.
Stop doom scrolling for a while. Okay. Tomorrow, tonight, High Potential and The Rookie are going to have their episode. I'm going to watch that. I'm finishing up watching the Great British Baking Show that I missed on Netflix. And let it go. Because if you don't let it go, it will push you to a point that when it's time to do something about it, you'll feel so helpless.
Yeah.
You'll just get to the point, who cares anymore? Do something for yourself. I'm telling y'all, do that. That's the best thing I do is listen to something other than its politics. I mean, I know every time Aaron Parnas comes out, you'll go, fuck, I get it. And we should, Midas touch, like I read their bulletins going, Jesus Christ. But you should do it, but you got to do it in pieces. So everyone, take a deep fucking breath, okay? Just
Well, you got to be healthy
take some
yourself
time.
if you expect to
Yeah,
help.
enjoy
If you want to
enjoy
help
the
your
ridiculous.
family,
Yeah,
you've got to be healthy
enjoy the
yourself.
ridiculous. Enjoy something you like. Don't worry about it. let it go. Okay, enjoy it. Um, and then, but see, the point is, don't go into a lapse where you just ignore it. Keep it in your fringe. Still make comments about it. Still understand that we're going to make comments about it. But there are days where I'm just going, okay, I'm not going to do anything until later this afternoon. I just got to, ooh, I have to, because it is a lot. And they depend on that. They depend of literally shocking you with like a taser into submission where you can't move and then keep shocking you over and over again. Um, I mean, if you think about it, it's the right wing version of electroshock therapy to change your behavior, which
Right.
is to be compliant. So, you guys, is there a big solution to this? Fuck no. I'll be honest, and for all of us, we could come to the conclusion 3 months into this motherfucker. So we're kind of on our own, and we're just going to have to keep saying this is bullshit. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. This is absolute. Are you out of your fucking mind?
Yeah.
Because those voices push back. Just because we're pissing in, you feel like you're pissing in the wind, doesn't mean it's not going downwind, not upwind. If that makes sense. Um, and I know it's a crude analogy, and I know I that's who I am. But the point being is, it's I spend my living showing people a solution to a problem. I sell this for a living. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, you come to me with that. Sometimes I can solve your problem, sometimes I can't. Sometimes my solution is way too expensive for you. I get it. But uh, what I do, and I do it well, is that I'm not going to force something on you if it doesn't work for you. Now, if you're pushing back on something I think, hey, would work for you, I'll try to convince you and to do it. And what I'm telling all you guys at this point, there is, at this point, there is no solution. The only thing is right now, for the short term, is that we have to be aware, look to our own mental health, and do not let fear take counsel of our fears. Because
Yeah.
it's already bad enough as it is. But understand there are people out there already fighting back. Los Angeles students are out there ready for the ice aids, the ice raids. The ice is going to be at a big fucking surprise when they show up in a lot of these cities. People are ready. They don't. There was not enough police or prosecutors that Tom Hoffman can stop these people. There are people starting to fight. There are people who are just sitting in front of the Treasury Department with signs. And as one person said, as the weather gets better, there are going to be more, and there will be more, and there will be more, because that's the point. Right now, in this winter of our discontent, these people think they have the upper hand because a lot of us are just kind of adjusting. But when spring comes and we see what they're really doing, we're going to pop up, and it's not going to be fun. At first, we're going to stand there and scream. Then it's going to be the next steps and see if people react to it. Again, the best thing we saw is that when people thought we were going to they were going to close off our money, and the push came, they backed off. Then we got to get to the point now we make this stove so fucking hot, they got to get it out of the goddamn kitchen.
Yeah.
So I understand, because we talked about a lot of shit that's disturbing, because
A
we
lot of
grew
it.
up,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of shit. We grew up believing I mean, we grew up believing in America and the Constitution, and it's not perfect. It's never been designed to be perfect. That's the problem with these people who are fucking with the Constitution, because they say it must be perfect. No, it was never designed to be perfect. It was designed, rich white guys designed a government not to benefit themselves. I don't
Yeah.
give a fuck what these so-called historians say to kind of twist it. But the Constitution was designed to change as society changes. Who the fuck sets that up unless you set up a monarchy? They
Right.
didn't set up a monarchy. I mean, you can do the subtle patriarchy and the racism. Don't don't get fooled by that. Those are subtles. They designed a government that changed with society. If they didn't, they would have set up a monarchy.
Yeah.
Be blunt. They would have set up that power comes from lineage, not from the people.
I think
So
we're
these are rich white guys who did that.
I think where people make the mistake whenever they have some trouble or some problem in front of them, they want to fix it as fast as you can. And when you do that, you make mistakes. There's going to, you talk about people being scared and such. And this is one of the reasons why I feel obligated to do the TikToks and the podcast, because I see the problems. You don't fucking scare me. I'm not going to get emotional about it. And I'm always going to believe we're going to win. And that's the mentality you have to have going into the situation. But it's going to take some time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I said, Republicans might do something, but they're not going to do it till the last minute when all the world is going to fall in. So we can't count on them. People will slowly build their discontent, and it will get busy and it will get loud and it will get troublesome for the Elon Musk and the Donald Trumps and the Republicans. And then they're going to have to
And God,
react to that. And they only have a couple of choices.
yeah, and to again, do not take counsel if you do not want. There are creators who just live off just saying we're going to turn to a fascist government. Everyone's going to be in chains. The whole thing. I've seen it. Okay,
Yeah.
I've seen these guys, and the point is, and they use examples of 36 Germany. And again, I'm going to back up on history real quick, guys. I might have said it before. I'm going to say it again. Okay, we are not 36 Germany.
No.
We did not have a monarchy that failed because of a failed war that collapsed the economy, that a fledgling democracy took over, that was almost taken over by a strongman who they put in jail, who came back and gave these people hope because they were so fucked and they were used to a strongman telling them what to do. So they went along with the process, even though it was horrendous. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, we are not that. We are a country of people who are used to saying what we want, doing what we want, and objecting to it. Even in the red states where they're trying to legislate it out, that's not going to work well because that's going to get blowback. Because Americans aren't built like that. We are not built to capitulate. We never
No.
have been. And the point is, and the thing about it is like, well, what if they take our troops? Then it is what it is. And I'm sorry, I'm not saying that as wanting the worst case scenario, but there's many of us would rather die in the street than capitulate. Because that's the thing. Can they do enough to for people to surrender? Maybe, but it's going to be a lot. I don't. You say you're not afraid. I have fear. Look at my face, guys. I mean, target number one. I have kids. I have young men that if Trump decides to do his wars, could be on the target to be drafted or, what's the word I'm looking for? Shanghai into
Yeah.
to the military. A la what they do in Russia, and it's hey, here's a rifle, go on the front. That scares the piss out of me. I have a daughter who's working now, but could end up like it could end up like that scene from a Handmaid's Tale. One day said women can't work, get the fuck out. You have to have babies or get married. I mean, those are things that I live with. But I will goddamn tell you, I'm not going to take counsel on my fears. I'm not going to be kowtowed by a fucking fake real estate con man. Because the point is, and I've always said this from the minute Trump came into us, not like this. If I was going to swear fealty to a monarch or one man, it would have been someone like Aragorn from Lord of the Rings. Someone I know would take care of us. You see my point? Not some fucked up con man. And all the people that have tried this, have been fucked up con men. Look at Huey Long, fucked up con man. Joseph McCarthy was just playing a game for power. Eventually, it'll come to roost. The problem we have is the guy got the Republican Party to buy into it. All right. So eventually they're going to lose. They cannot keep this up. And it's
No, they
going to
can't.
be a tough fucking fight because the one opportunity we had to change this country disappeared on the 5th. And if
I'll
I
tell you
hear,
this:
yeah,
if you want to have this come to a halting stop quickly,
mhm.
tell people you're going to impose the draft. Because I tell you what, back in
Oh,
Vietnam, they got away with it because people were coming out of World War II and Korea and fighting for our government and fighting for our democracy,
Korea,
fighting
yeah,
against
yeah, Korea on
communism.
top of that, yeah.
People did after Vietnam. People weren't buying that shit anymore,
No,
and they are, parents of young men today are far different than the parents of the Vietnam era. They aren't
and,
going, there's going to be such a revolt. It would be fucking unbelievable. That would end the
oh,
Republican Party.
and yeah, and then top on that, going back to the draft in the Vietnam War, Captain Bone Spurs, he
Yeah.
used money and influence to get out of the draft. And that's what exactly happened. You had a lot of poor white, poor blacks, poor Hispanics fighting this war who
Yeah,
died,
exactly.
who were effective, who came back, who never were acknowledged. And we talk about the hippies. Hippies became boomers.
Right.
Hippies became yuppies. Hippies, the majority of them turned their back on what they were believing in the country. They really did. They
They
fucking sold
absolutely
out.
did.
They fucking
They did.
sold out. Um, and because the good majority of them never had to struggle with anything. We
Well,
have,
with the hippies, when they did what they did back in the 60s, you would only have to presume we'd become a more progressive country because they had a certain
right?
amount of power with shutting down Vietnam and politics and such. And they were all about love and free love and all this other stuff. But then they become boomers and they start to own some things. They start to make some money. And then they say, oh, this is all mine. I don't want to give it to anybody. It's real easy for them when they didn't have anything to say, we got to give everybody everything. But then they got jealous with their money and they got
Mhm.
protective of their money and they fell in the same traps that their parents fell into.
Yeah, I mean, what was the term? Don't trust anyone over 30. Yeah, they were
Yeah.
right. And the point too is like, honestly, the majority of them were racist. Because if we look about it, the hippies was majority a white movement. The Black Panther movement, which was trying to do the same thing, was seen as a criminal element, as a
Right.
terrorist group. There
Because
was
they
no
were
difference
black.
what the Black Panthers and Black Power were doing in the 60s and what the hippies were doing. They were going for the same thing, but the Panthers and Black Power movement were shaking the foundation of what they lived with their parents. You were telling them to share their wealth.
Right.
Oh, and you were telling them that people that look like me or Eldred Cleaver could buy a house next to me or go to the school my kids go to.
Right.
Oh, that's too much for me. And
Yeah.
that's the truth. And that's where it went sideways. Because let's bottom line it. The color of your skin still mattered them, even to those so-called liberals and hippies and leftists. Um, and because when the people of color demanded the same they wanted, it became a threat. And then
Yeah.
we saw everything come up. And now getting through the 80s and 90s, the problem that they can't get around, and they keep saying it, there was, we're going to, we're talking about the reaction to the Kendrick Lamar halftime show. They showed a Super Bowl party of people showing their dancing to this music. They were all young, maybe late 20s, early 30s. There were blacks, there were whites, there were Orientals in this room. There was a Chinese, uh, there were a whole mix of people in there, some mixed race. And someone made the comment, "That's America.
Yeah.
That was America. That's America now." I mean, That's America now. So no matter what all the has gets and all the DI, they don't get it. It's already here. It's happened, but they're afraid of acknowledging it because they're afraid their generation and the ones these far left are afraid of losing what power they have left instead of embracing it and saying it makes everyone a better country. The idea of this DI is to one last stab at that white Christian males will rule everything, everything will be okay. You're not going to win that fight.
No,
You're not going to win that fight because people are. Pete Hesketh is getting screamed at by military families because the DEI thing because it's affecting them. He's
Yeah.
getting pushback within the military. The point is, it's here, and unless you want to do something drastic, a la Hitler, you got to live with it. And that's the thing. This type of thing can. This is all about fear. You can't rule with fear. You never can rule with fear because it
Yeah.
eventually ends. It eventually ends. We had an agreement for 250 years. It was a shaky agreement. We had to fix the agreement, but we had an agreement between the government and the people that we put you in there and you're going to do the best thing for us. Sometimes you fuck up and we get rid of you and put more people in there. Donald Trump is the first man I've seen in this power that really does not care about America. Never cares
Absolutely.
about America. Even the worst presidents, Bush's, going back, cared about America, even if they're doing things that make sense. Even Woodrow Wilson, in his racist mentality, still cared about America. What we're dealing now is dealing with people that care about themselves, and that cannot last. So again, to all the people here going, what do we do? You look to yourself. You take care of your personal business. You keep those close to you. You keep aware. And when the time comes, if we have to step out, you know you're ready to step out and be damn the
Absolutely.
consequences. Because that's all we got, people. And I'm going to say this: there is no political solution. There isn't. We're gonna ride this motherfucker and see what happens. And in the end, we may be the ones that have to build a dam.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah. We're going to wrap things up for the Rational Boomer podcast. Thank you, Will, for stopping by. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and get some
Um,
insights. For those
just a
of you
quick
listening,
reminder. Yeah, quick
what's up?
reminder. You
Oh,
can
yeah.
find me on yeah, find me on TikTok, Binder30s, 38US. I'm on Substack, Binder38US, Blue Sky. YouTube, Binder30s, 38US at YouTube. That may be our final bastion in about a month. So if you guys kind of want to build it up,
Yeah.
be great because I had a great surprise. I finally figured out how to record a live accidentally, and I was able to put it up on YouTube. And then people like that longer format, so I may have
Yeah.
to go there and try to do it. But yeah, that's the thing. And if you're out there with your own little bits, don't be afraid to come to us and say, "Hey, I got a video. What do you think? Can you help me out?" Because I will help you out. I
Yeah.
will
Absolutely.
promote anything you said because the more voices we have, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid because it's too late now. Either we stand up. What's the term from the American Revolution? Either we hang together or we hang separately, and that's
Yeah.
where we're at. Right.
Exactly. Those
Thank
of
you,
you
Mike, for the
listening,
time again.
I want to thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope you have a great day. We will talk to you again tomorrow.